first time I did New York City Marathon was really tough. It took me 5 hours, 19 minutes to do it. I had massive blisters on the end of my knees. And I finished and I said I'd never run again. I'd never do a marathon again and never experience it. And then the reflection of what I've done, that I've challenged the status quo. Nobody as a double-leg amputee had done a marathon before. And one thing I do say to runners, especially those that are taking their marathon journey, is the most important part and the most important mile of a marathon is the 27th. And the 27th mile is after you finish. It's about how you utilise what you've done before that finish line and use it as a real force of power to enable yourself to be better and also empower the people around you.
Welcome to Rejection Rehab, the only podcast out there specifically designed to help you get over the fear of rejection and build lasting confidence. Each week I interview an absolutely magnificent human being who's gone through their fair share of rejection but overcome it and built lasting confidence in the process. This week it gives me huge pleasure to introduce you to Richard Whitehead, MBE. Richard Whitehead, MBE is a double Paralympic gold medalist, marathon world record holder, and inclusion advocate who was born with a double above knee congenital amputation, so missing both legs above the knee from birth. He wasn't allowed to compete in distance races at the Paralympics due to classification rules, so he turned that rejection into opportunity and focused on sprinting, going on to win the Paralympics in gold in the 200 meters in London 2012, gold again in Rio in 2016, and silver in Tokyo in 2020. The list of his other sporting and non-sporting achievements are far too long to go into this introduction. But Richard Whitehead, MBE, thank you so much for coming on the show.
How's it going? I'm really pleased to be on here. It's great to be able to kind of share some moments from my career, also my learnings, but also hopefully relate to some of the challenges, obstacles that people that are listening and watching. And when I've kind of reflect on my career, I always have like those moments, always have those opportunities of reflection and evaluation. And I think it's a great opportunity, and it's great what you're doing to be able to pass on those messages to those that need them.
Thank you so much. And I agree. And the first question, I really want to go back to your childhood, because, you know, you were dealt a very difficult hand. And I want to know, what's it like as a child growing up, obviously very different from everyone else, growing up without any legs. How was that for you?
Yeah, it's really, really difficult for a young person to understand that they are different. And when you are younger, you see yourself in the same mind frame as your peers. You see the same opportunities as your peers because the expectation is that you're just like everybody else. But then as you're growing up and realizing that society isn't ready, or there isn't an inclusion spectrum for people like yourself, so those opportunities that you want and that are a God-given right are not there for you, or that you're having to really battle to be able to get those opportunities, it's a realization that that life is going to be really tough. And if you don't work hard for it, if you don't fight for it, if you don't have a strong team, a strong network around you, there can be some real restrictions, or that success rate and that progression will be a lot more difficult, because we always look at those physical challenges as like because you can see them, but for me those emotional, those challenges that other people put on you are far more difficult to move because you can't see them, for one, and also it's about changing people's mindset. And that's what, growing up, I've reflected this a lot recently. And as a young person, you have like a no fear factor, and you want to kind of jump in and do everything like everybody else. But then when you realise you're different and don't understand that you should celebrate difference and utilise this difference for the greater good, it can definitely affect your mindset. And mental health is a real kind of strong thing for people with disabilities. When you get over that realization that a disability is a resource, not a hindrance, then that kind of breaking that cycle of a disability as a negative is a really good thing. And I had that probably when I went to secondary school. primary school, I had some real challenges where teachers and adults were really putting restrictions on me around physical education, around education generally, around opportunities for employment in the future. But then when I went to secondary school, I had a real kind of mind shift where the headmaster was really sport focused, but also really understood the value of education. And I had a tutor that was very caring and a group of friends that really empowered me to be the best person that I could be.
So you talked a little bit about using your disability more of an opportunity than a hindrance.
Sure.
What do you say to people? Lots of people are struggling for lots of different reasons. What do you say to people who, whether it's a physical disability, whether it's going through something emotionally, what do you say to people? You've been so emotionally strong. What do you say to those people to help them?
I would say one thing we're all connected by is disability, and we all have a debilitating time in our life, whether it's through illness, whether it is through a disability. We're all connected, and one of my messages to people that are wanting to upskill themselves in what the challenges are going to be like later in life, if this does happen to them, or if they do have these challenges in their life, or they are having challenges at the moment, is it's really important to understand that whatever they are, it will get better. There is hope, there is opportunity through being vulnerable and really kind of embracing the challenge. And for some people, that's a mindset that might be a little bit too far in the distance. And I relate it to, like, obviously my success in the Paralympics. When I win that Paralympic gold medal, people say, oh, well, I've got a disability and it's okay because Richard's a Paralympic gold medalist, but I've still got a disability 365 days a year. But I've utilised my disability as a real resource to challenge myself personally, challenge my environment around me, and hopefully leave my legacy in other people's eyes to say, actually, I can relate to Richard and some of these other athletes because they're challenging the status quo. And we all, like you say, have challenges and obstacles in our life. And like mental health, I never ever would say to anybody that is struggling with their mental health or is starting their mental health journey that it's any less more important than anybody else. And that's the same as disability. Your disability, your impairment, your challenge is not as any more important than yourself, but there always is people out there that are worse off than yourself.
I want to go back to 2004, where you took part in the New York City Marathon. And back then, prosthetics and running blades just weren't as prevalent as they are now. And you had been training on these sort of knee cups to prevent your knees from getting injured. And you were fitted with running blades, 13 days before the marathon. I mean, people complain about a new pair of running shoes, like a month out, and this is like your lower limb basically being put in. How on earth did you manage with a new prosthetic 13 days before the New York City Marathon?
Yeah, teach myself how to run, really.
Yeah.
When I go into schools, colleges, and universities and talk about the feeling of running, for me, it's very similar to when young people are on their bike and they take their stabilizers off their bike and then they're able to ride freely. That's very similar to the feeling that I first had when I was running on my running blades. I didn't know how to run. I kind of had these running blades, and all the struggles, all the tough times that I had before that really gave me the willpower to make use of these running blades. And still had to train really hard, but that first experience was really just to get to the finish line. And there's a lot of people out there that maybe have taken on their challenge, whether it's a marathon or something that is enormous, and maybe not put the preparation or the training in, and then realise how hard it actually is, and some of the steps that you should take to get to your success have been maybe missed. And because of those missed steps, then things happen like your mental health's affected because you're not seeing that success, or you've not got your nutrition or hydration right, or the equipment's not set up properly. And that was very similar to me. The first time I did New York City Marathon, it was really tough. It took me 5 hours, 19 minutes to do it. I had massive blisters on the end of my knees. And I finished and I said I'd never run again. I'd never do a marathon again and never experience it. And then the reflection of what I've done, that I've challenged the status quo. Nobody as a double-leg amputee had done a marathon before. And also the kind of comments that I was getting from other runners, the general members of the public, through email and social media was starting to kind of be around then. And it really did kind of leave that note that this is probably a sport for me in the future. It's not just going to be something that I did for charity, which I did. I raised money for Macmillan Cancer Relief in 2004, and in the name of my friend Simon Mellows, who unfortunately died in 2005 of sarcoma. And I think for me that was a real defining moment in my life. One, realising that sport isn't all about self-gratifying moments. It's about the ability to be able to support those worse off than yourself. It's about that when things get really tough and those real moments of challenge, it's about how you overcome them. And a lot of people do it in lots of different ways, and whether that's hard work and resilience, or it's time, or it's effort, or it's support. And for me, it was a lot of those together, and it culminated with that 5 hours, 19 minutes of a real journey. And then when I finished it, it was something that I had a real reflection. And one thing I do say to runners, especially those that are taking their marathon journey, is the most important part and the most important mile of a marathon is the 27th, and the 27th mile is after you finish. It's about how you utilise what you've done before that finish line, and use it as a real force of power to enable yourself to be better and also empower the people around you.
I could not have said that better myself. And I love that. And I hate to quote Lance Armstrong, but in his, I think the title of his book was "It's Not About the Bike." And I do feel, as though with running, it's given so much to me as well outside of running. Sometimes it's about the running, but a lot of the time, like you said, it's the 27th mile. It's after you've done the running that can give you so much. And speaking of more running, you are obviously an incredible distance runner, but you were not allowed to compete at the Paralympic level in distance running due to classification rules. And so instead of, moping about that, you just were like, well, I'll just go and sprint instead. And then you absolutely obviously smashed the sprinting world in Paralympics, double gold, a silver in the 200 meters. How did you take that rejection and just turn it into unbelievable opportunity and success?
So initially it was really tough. Obviously really frustrating. I think kind of looking back on that period, it was a real time where I was frustrated, not only because I've got a disability and some of the challenges and obstacles that puts in my path on a daily basis and still does, but then also within something that empowers you with sport and brings people together, then also kind of rejects you because you've not got an event to show the world kind of what person you are, and that was really tough. And I remember when I was sitting down with my coach, and I've told this story quite a bit, that I sit down with my coach Liz Yelling and her husband Martin Yelling, and we were kind of looking at the Paralympic programme, and yes, there's no marathon and the marathon is not going to be available. How do I then still be as successful within that umbrella sport of Paralympics when there's not a marathon or half marathon or 10k, 5k? There was only the 200 metres that I could compete at, and it was about kind of really showing up to the event. First, you've obviously got to qualify, but showing up to the Paralympics, putting on that tracksuit and really representing who I wanted to be. And that's what you go on YouTube and watch Richard White at 200 meter London 2012. You'll see that it's a fantastic race. It really does demonstrate Paralympic sport in the light it should be demonstrated. Unfortunately, sport and Paralympic sport is very political. The events come and go. The organisation don't speak to the athletes about the importance of inclusive sport, and the Paralympics isn't inclusive, and I talk a lot about that as well, and that's again a frustration. But for me at that stage, it was about utilising an opportunity and not being afraid of going. I'm a marathon world record holder at the time. I think it was 241 or 242 high. Then to go on the track and really show the diversity of who I am and what sport is, being able to go from 26.2 to 200 meters, which is a massive change. Fast twitch, body weight massively changed. Mindset was always the same. Ability to commit to a purpose was always the same, but it was the focus for about 6 to 18 months was really kind of getting to understand that as an aging athlete that you can still be successful. And it was never about winning the Paralympic gold medal in London 2012. It was making use of that platform to empower people in Great Britain and all over the world.
You briefly touched about athletes with disabilities and Paralympics and the difficulties there. You're a great advocate for athletes with disabilities, for disability visibility, equity and sport as a force for positive change. You ran 40 marathons in 40 days to raise money and awareness for sarcoma. I'm sorry that one of your friends had that cancer and died from it. But obviously not enough is being done for athletes with disabilities. Why do you not think that the Paralympics and athletes with disabilities get the attention that they deserve? Like, what's going on?
I believe that that sport in general should be for everybody, and whether you've got a disability or not. So whether it's from the LGBTQ plus community, different race, religious backgrounds, there's always a field of play where you can communicate with the power of sport and not through language and all the other historical challenges. And for me, this is so important because not only is it and can be a really safe place to make those relationships, and also it's a real opportunity of self-discovery. And for people with disabilities, a lot of the time, those disabilities are forgotten or they vanish because of the field of play is about bringing people together. And I think the disability movement has never really had that real opportunity of enrichment where everybody goes, actually, we need to get behind it. And I think that will come. I'm sure that the changing environment will give young people, and this is why young people are so important, young people who are the leaders of tomorrow have the vision to actually go, disability is a real resource. A lot of the technologies that we have today that are in society have been brought through society because of the disability community has challenged technology to invent something that's actually that then can make disability more accessible. And because of that, I'm really an advocate for not only disabled people being more inclusive, but also disabled people having ownership of who they are and going out into the community and talking about the importance of diversity, because you can really see it. And when people look at me competing, like I've just come back from Chicago where I did the marathon, and I've done all other races all this year, all over the world. And one thing that I really find is seeing is believing. So you can look on the internet, you can see a YouTube video, and you can go, oh yeah, I kind of get it. I kind of get where that challenge is and how they need support or specialist equipment or how that's really liberating and empowering. But when you see it in the flesh and see the reaction of disabled people being successful, it's like a light switch moment where people go, actually, I see where the hard work's, how the hard work's been put in, the dedication, but also that it's not just about a medal, it's about changing people's perceptions about what is possible, and that you can believe the sky's the limits and you can achieve whatever you want.
I agree. And if we look at the Olympics and the Paralympics, if people are just watching for entertainment value, which I know a lot of people are, I know so many people who went to the Paralympics and said that it was way more fun going to the Paralympics and watching Paralympic sport than it was the regular Olympics, right? It was hugely entertaining. I just went to the US Open and I watched both the wheelchair paratennis and the standing paratennis. Both were amazing to watch. And I just think people don't realize actually how incredible parasport is to watch. And also how it makes you feel good watching people who have been dealt a not great hand to then go and absolutely crush a sport. Like these tennis players would have all beaten me, and I don't have a noticeable disability. I'm sure I've got lots of disabilities,
Yeah.
up in my head. But, so it's so fantastic. And I just encourage people to get out and also get involved in it. Like the reason why you and I met is because I'm a guide for Achilles International. I guide blind athletes, whether it's running or triathlons and so on. And that's how you and I met. And that's the most meaningful thing I do in my life and the thing that brings me the most joy. I don't do it because I pity anyone that I help.
No.
I do it because it makes me feel good.
Yeah, and I think that's really important about volunteering as well. And this is something that I don't think is talked about enough, is that volunteering is fantastic. You're giving your time that's so precious to a greater cause. But it's also really important to know and to understand that it's okay to want something from that experience, and to want to grow as a person, and then take those experiences back to your family, your community, your work colleagues, and actually say, I've did this fantastic thing where I ran with this visually impaired runner and he was talking about X, Y, and Z, and that's given me some ideas how I can be more inclusive in the workplace, etc., etc. And I think that's really important with volunteering, is that you go, actually, I'm giving my time, but this is going to make me a better person. And there's so many opportunities out there in society, whether it's working with the homeless, with the disability community, whether it's working for projects in your local area or internationally, or doing them even remotely. I think we all make excuses. And one thing that disabled people generally don't make is excuses. So hence the reason why when I'm talking to people that are in the workplace, stakeholders and brands, and they're looking for employment, I'm saying, look, you need to employ more disabled people because it's the right thing to do, but also they won't make excuses, they'll make change.
Absolutely. And you said it makes you a better person volunteering. I think it also makes you a happier person.
Yes,
I'm happier as every time I get off, whether it's training with an athlete with a disability doing a race, I've always got this elated feeling. I always feel really happy. Whenever I do a race with an athlete with a disability, I've enjoyed that way more than a race that I've done just by myself. It's just way more fun.
Yeah, and also, kind of going back to what your question was about the Olympics and Paralympics, I think when you go and watch the Olympics, you're more likely to be watching for the winners. And when you go to the Paralympics, I think you're having an experience, and that experience still might be watching high performance sport, but it also might trigger something in your head to say, oh, I've just seen something that is really going to kind of make my mind shift around what is possible. That person there with no arms and legs are just done 100 meters backstroke, and it's really kind of empowered me and my kids to actually get back swimming or whatever it is, and that's the difference between the Olympics and Paralympics. That's why I always advocate for both Olympics and Paralympics, because they are so incredible. The Paralympics is underfunded, under-supported, and we as society need to get behind it. Obviously, we've got a Paralympic Games that's coming up in 2028 in LA, and that's a game changer, an opportunity, like London 2012 was when I won. And I know what the opportunity that brings with being a gold medalist at home games. And I think not only the international athletes, but the American athletes should really grab this opportunity with both hands or legs or whatever you have, and really kind of go, actually, this is not going to just be about a gold medal. This is going to be about, I'm going to be responsible for social change, and not just talk about it, actually do it.
And going back to what you said about, I don't know if people realize that the athletes who go to the Paralympics are serious elite level athletes. So I guided at the international level, first for Ireland in para-triathlon, and then for the USA. And the athletes who I were guiding, a lot of them, and the other athletes who I was competing against, the athletes with a disability, so the blind athletes, were faster than me, a lot of the time. And so these guys are, if they had sight, they could probably compete, against sighted people. They are serious athletes. And so I think people perhaps don't realize the level is just so high that you're going to go and see an elite level athlete competing. They just happen to have a disability.
For sure. And then having to overcome maybe some challenges within that sport, that means that those percentages that they're gaining through performance are so much smaller, but they're gaining everything from those percentages, and whether that's strength, power, speed, or whether that's nutrition or sleep or technology. And I think obviously we're talking about like volunteering, and obviously the role that you had with your visually impaired athlete. These volunteers are all the way through the team, whether they're doctors, coaches, whether they're practitioners in the sports. They're supporting those athletes reach their goals. And like in marathon running, I think we all need to think, after that gold medal, there is a 27th mile, what is next? And it's not all about those self-gratifying medal moments, which I'll show you now. It's just actually here.
Nice. I'm so glad you brought that. You want to know what a gold medal looks like? There it is. Is it real gold, by the way?
I think it's 18 karat gold. It's definitely on the house insurance anyway. And it's a great coaster.
That is fantastic. Oh, I'm so glad you showed that. So I want to talk about you last year, 2024, the Chicago Marathon. You broke probably your own record in the marathon with 2 hours and 41 minutes for double amputee marathon world record. Yeah. I mean, how old are you now? First of all, you don't have to answer that question seriously if you don't want to. But what did you not think? Okay, I'm already double gold medalist at the Paralympics, silver medal, already marathon world record holder. What keeps you going?
Yeah, I am old. Thanks for mentioning that. I'm 49 now. I'm 50 next year. But
you look amazing.
And I think last year I wanted to really commit to a personal goal of myself to go. Actually, I was marathon world record holder for not only double leg amputees but any amputee, single or double amputee, in 2009, 2010. And then to come back onto the road after my Paralympic success, what would that feel like, and was I able to do that? So I was a lot bulkier, a lot fast twitch, but obviously endurance, I'd not done a massive amount of like fast road running. So I was like, well, is it possible to then come back after like 12, 13 years and break my own world record? And it took a lot of hard work. I sat down with my coach, looked at how we'd do that over an 18-month period, building back up my CV engine, really keep locking back into that focus I had many moons before, and really try and get the appetite for the marathon back as well, because you need to really love it to be able to hammer a marathon for under 3 hours. Is something that takes a lot of dedication, but also you've got to love it, because it does hurt. I always say I get on the pain train for 2 hours 40 minutes, and it literally is 2 hours 40 minutes of pain. And I kind of, when I finished my marathon journey, I said that a magic number for me was 2:35. That's what I felt I could run. And so we planned to do that in Chicago last year. I got to 20 miles and I was locked on pace for 2:35. The wheels fell off, and I had 3 pacers with me that were awesome. Like, I literally stopped in my tracks, couldn't move, felt terrible, and we just ground it out. And I still got to 2:41 to finish, to break my world record after having such a terrible last 10 kilometres. And for me, that showed some real kind of resilience, and I had to dig really deep in my own kind of personal self, like physically, spiritually, just kind of keep moving, but also how much did I want it? And I know that lots of viewers and listeners do have those challenges and obstacles, and it is about understanding that it is possible. There are people out there that really can support you, and I advocate for getting support and getting the guidance and the proper support. But also in those moments, it's about how you've prepared for them. I think all those resilient moments, I've prepared all my life for those moments, and it's about me to really react to that as a professional person and as an athlete. And like I said, I powered to the finish in 2:41 and was really proud that I was able to restart the engine and continue to the finish. Sometimes our goals and ambitions in life are not achieved, but that doesn't mean that the successes that we have aren't any bigger. And I still broke the world record, just not in the time I wanted.
Congratulations. And I guess if you really want to get that 2:35, I imagine someone like you, with the motivation you have, you might have another crack at it, but I'll leave that to you. I had one question actually that came to mind. I remember when I was watching the Paras many, many years ago, and kind of blades were, in my mind, just coming out for the first time. I hadn't seen running blades before. And I remember seeing or hearing people say, oh, you know, those blades give an extra spring. They kind of give an advantage to these runners. And I'm thinking, an advantage? These guys don't have any legs. And I thought that was just like such a ridiculous thing to say. Did you hear people saying that at the time? And if so, I want to hear your reaction.
You still have it. Yeah, you still have it. I think what it is if I beat somebody over a half marathon, there'd always be some snide comments like, oh, you're using your carbon blades more than I am, because obviously they've got carbon in their shoes anyway. Right. And I'm like going, well, let me just tell you something. You've got carbon in your shoes. You've also got a calf. You've also got a hamstring, and I've got neither. Also, I use 6,000 calories to do a marathon. You probably use 2,500. So it's massively different. I'm obviously a lot bigger than you. Like, you look at the pictures when I'm running, I'm a lot bigger than the average marathon runner, because I'm having to utilize my whole body to be able to run, and that's upper body, core, and legs. I don't want to look like the Incredible Hulk when I run a marathon, but I generally do.
And yeah, you're big. I've met you in person. You're a big guy.
I know I've got a strong handshake, but I don't want to look like the Incredible Hulk. But it's about changing people's perceptions, that it's but also in a positive light. It's really interesting, isn't it, where people judge success in different waves. So if you're becoming super successful within what you're doing, you're cheating, or you're using technology to an advantage instead of accessing technology to achieve your best. And that's something that I'm educating people at. And I think I do get frustrated inside. I never really show it. I use it as an education tool, and I think sometimes athletes, men generally, not women, men generally, sometimes are a little bit short-sighted around what success looks like, and sometimes they feel very insecure when somebody with a disability has actually done slightly better than them in an event.
Yeah.
That's me being honest.
No, I agree. I'm always I'm very humbled by it, and going to competing at the international level, that was very humbling for me, and I was always in awe. But there are definitely some people who just can't handle it, and that's on them. So this show's about getting over the fear of rejection and building lasting confidence. You're obviously a hugely confident guy, and none of us are born with confidence. I'm just wondering, where did that confidence come from? How did it develop, and how do you maintain that confidence?
Again, I was not a confident young person. I think when I was younger, I was never somebody that would sit at the front of the class. I was always at the back. I didn't really smile a lot because of my disability and some of the challenges that were put in front of me. I think through sport, it has definitely helped me gain confidence, and not the winning side, more the place where I felt safe, and the place where I felt more creative, and I was able to express myself through the power of sport. Um, and I think it was just that my parents were of a mindset where they saw sport as a real unlocker of doors for me as a person, and through that have some wide experiences that would mold me as a person. So I went to America and worked in Connecticut for a year. I obviously Paralympics, obviously all that kind of success, and I went to an all boys gymnastics school where I learned balance, agility, and coordination. My mum and dad developed a swimming club that was for disabled people. So lots of different experiences that really gave me the mindset of, well, I've been dealt this card in life. Everybody's got a card in life, and that card sometimes changes with the experiences they have. How about I just utilize this to its strength, and also be very perseverant with life and not expect it all now. Work hard for it, and have the people around me that can help mold me the person I want to be, and just go for it. Really believe that I can do anything, and I have done.
And speaking of going for it, you're going for your, by the end of the year, 100th marathon.
Yeah.
And I believe your 100th marathon will be 21 years to the day since you did your first marathon, if I'm not mistaken. Is
Yes,
that right?
Yeah. That's right, in 2004, yeah.
How's that going? And are you excited to see the finish line of your 100th marathon?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see the finish line for sure. So I've done 17.
This year, right? This year.
This year, so I've done
Yeah.
17 this year, 13 under 3 hours.
Wow.
Which is crazy. All over the world, from Vancouver to Dubai to Sydney to Rome, Paris, London, Boston, all over Miami, all over the place. And one thing for me, it was when I did New York actually last year and did my 80th, I was like, what do I do next year? And I wanted to really show up and show people how important it is to show up, and not half-arse anything, and not kind of do it because you have to or you want to, but actually go and kind of go, I'm going to visit places that I've maybe competed before, or go places that I really feel I can make an impact. And I've done that. I've kind of put myself in a really vulnerable space, going for it, and races where maybe I've not felt too great, or, as you know, like doing 2 marathons a year is a lot, but doing 20 is an
insane.
Yeah. And then to try and just go for everyone. And sometimes I've not got anywhere near 3 hours, but I've actually gone for it, and it's been a real eye opening. So yeah, so New York did 80, then I said to myself, I'm going to do 20 this year to reach my 100, because ironically, New York Marathon is 21 years to the day, and I'd love to just do that. And I love running. I love marathon running. Running is the most inclusive sport that there is, because whether you're in a wheelchair, whether you're walking, jogging, you do it at your own pace. And one thing that social media doesn't do, it doesn't give you that opportunity to do it your way, because social media is all about, you see it live through somebody else's lens. And I say, look, have your own journey, have your own life, and really go for it. Live how you want to. And 20 marathons this year has really showed me that there's so many people out there with challenges and obstacles in their life, and maybe born into circumstance which isn't ideal. But there's also some incredible people that have literally, they're liberating me to continue my journey, because I've seen that anything's possible.
And speaking of New York City Marathon, I'll see you when you come here, because I'll be guiding Francesco, one of my blind friends, in it. So I look forward to seeing you. Yeah.
I love saying that name, especially after Elf as well.
He's also a big unit. That guy is about 6'6". So yeah, between the two of you. So I always end with the same questions. I'd love to hear, first of all, what your favorite book and what your favorite movie is.
Yeah, so I generally, like, when I would say I have spare time, I would drift in and out of like motivational kind of books, or drift in and out of movies that really kind of kickstart some emotion, especially if I'm feeling really tired or fatigued. And I literally, when I was talking to you earlier, I was like, right, I'm going to look at my audiobook like list and see what I've actually been listening to. And I love like people that or communities that I can think actually they can add value to me. So I quite like the Japanese culture. So lots of audiobooks around that I would listen to. I was listening to on the way back from Sydney, the Arnold Schwarzenegger autobiography, Useful, which is quite funny. I quite like his interest in life, how he was obviously international bodybuilder, then went into politics and like film star. I quite like all that stuff. I'm not a massive biography fan, but that his autobiography did kind of say actually he's quite diverse, and I'm quite diverse as a person, even though I don't think I'm like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And also like just self-help things that can really relate to some of those challenges that we have. So mindfulness books generally have a lot of kind of takeaways. And for those listeners, viewers that are kind of into mindfulness and mindfulness books, I would definitely recommend kind of having more than one options that you can drift in and out of, and not just stay on one plane, because sometimes you just get overloaded with lots of different opportunities of enrichment. So now I'm just actually looking now. So what was the one that I will listen to the year? So the Diary of the CEO. Has anybody heard of that for Stephen Bartlett? That was something that I first got introduced to it by a friend because
Are you talking about the podcast?
Or no, the actual book.
The actual book. Gotcha.
Because I was going in the transition between athlete to having my own foundation, and I wanted to actually look at how he developed as a person into being a CEO. Because I think as a person like myself, as an athlete, I'm developing a brand that hopefully people relate to as in a CEO. So that's what I was looking for. So I was looking for self-growth in the book, and so Diary of a CEO really related to that.
Got it. And what about your favourite movie?
So favourite movie, I love Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, same. That might be my favourite as well.
Yeah. I love that. It's something that I don't know. You just can watch it at any point. I'm a movie buff. I've lots of old ones. So I like The Matrix. I love that. I love Coach Carter, Samuel L. Jackson. You know what I do struggle with some of the more recent films. That connection, I think, like CGI sometimes like over complicates the film. And I think like those journeys like Shawshank Redemption, where it kind of, if you've not seen it before and then it takes a real like drastic shift towards the end, those are films that really do kind of, and they have so many different characters and elements to the film. Those are things that I really like.
Okay, got it. And what are the biggest ideas, the biggest things that keep you up at night, whether they're worries or things that you think are just amazing in the world?
Have I done enough? That's the one. That's the one thing. Have I done enough?
Have you done enough? Okay.
Yeah, have I done enough? And that could be anything.
Can I just tell you, I think you've done enough. Like, I think most people would be like, okay, probably hang up my prosthetics now, hang my blades now.
It is. It's like, have I done enough? And that could be like the challenges of the day. It could be like in life. It could be, I don't know, with the kids, or packing my bag for going to my next marathon that I need to pack tonight, and just things like that. Have I done enough? It's always a
good mantra.
It's always a thing that keeps me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best advice you've ever received from someone, and best advice you've ever given. It can be the same thing if you want.
I think a funny one. I'll give you a funny one. So gymnastics coach David Walkenden, unfortunately, is not here anymore. He died a year or so ago, and in his late 90s. So really, really kind of awesome guy. He was my gymnastics coach when I was younger. Anyway, so I did a diving program called Splash in the UK after my 2012 success, and I dived on the first show, got through to the next round, and then I was at a celebration event, and I was talking to him. He's like, "Oh, how did you like my dive?" Because I did a handstand on the board and did a somersault, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it's great. But you know one advantage you've got, Richard?" I was like, "What's that?" He said, "At least they can't take any points away from you for not pointing your toes." And I was like, so that was a piece of advice he said, and it just summed him up as well, that he was looking for any benefit you can gain. So that was something that he gave me. And I think,
I love it.
and a piece of advice that I'd give to anybody would be perseverance. Persevere, and patience are so important, as well as communication. Be a good communicator, but perseverance and patience for me, and try and live in the moment. It's fantastic to plan for tomorrow, but try and live in the moment, experience life, and everything that you work hard for, you'll see the benefits.
And your favourite quote?
Cometh the hour, cometh the man, which is probably my quote.
Yes, that's so good. Let's attribute that to you. Listen, I just want to say, Richard, it's been such a pleasure chatting. You know, I've obviously met you in person. We've been in email correspondence, but to get this opportunity to chat with you has been absolutely fantastic. I really look forward to seeing you at the New York City Marathon. I wish you the best for the 2 marathons between now and then. Exactly, for your 100th. You're an absolute champion, an absolute legend, and it's been such a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Whitehead, MBE.